Hello and welcome to an extremely chaotic FIU stadium where it's match day 3 for Canada. Today their opponents are Costa Rica, but before that we're talking about good news for the Canadian team. Max?
Well, absolutely right, Laurence. Canada did qualify via one of the Group C results last night, a tie between Mexico and Panama, and this ensures that Canada, at worst, will qualify as one of the top two third-place finishers in the CONCACAF preliminary round here. So Canada are through the next round, and of course that will change how Canada will be approaching today's match against Costa Rica.
Yeah, speaking more about last night, it was a pretty controversial game, ended with some real scenes of quite shameful violence. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, very strange scenes out of Houston, the Mexico-Panama match. Tension kind of boiled over. Basically what happened was Ricardo Phillips, a Panamanian player, dribbled out of bounds and was then effectively kicked by Felipe Aguirre, the Mexican manager, and this resulted in a melee between both benches. Fights broke out in the crowd, and in fact several people were arrested in the end due to some of the violence in the stands. So very strange scenes, and we're awaiting CONCACAF's decision as to what the punishment for Felipe Aguirre, the Mexican manager, will be.
Let's hope some swift action is taken. Speaking of swift action, tonight there are a few players on yellow cards. Max, what are the ramifications of this, first of all, for this game, and secondly of all, for the players that are playing tonight?
3 very important players for Canada on yellow cards. If they were to pick up another yellow card tonight, they would in fact be banned for the next match against whoever the opponent will be in the quarterfinal. Those players are Julian de Guzman, obviously a focal point, Paul Stalteri at right back, and another hugely important player, left back Mike Klikowski. So I would expect Stephen Hart to at least rest 2 of those 3, possibly all 3, and we'll have to see who comes out on the pitch for Canada. It could be a very different squad tonight.
Well, let's look at this changing squad and how the lineup might change because of these yellow cards and the risks that those players might be running. Who do you think are going to replace these players in those positions, and how well do you think they're going to perform?
Well, if anybody's going to replace Paul Stalteri at right back, it'll be Jamie Peters. Since Roy Keane came in at Ipswich, Peters finished the season with some very strong performances at right back for Ipswich Town in the English Championship. At left back, of course, we have Marcel de Jong as an option. He's played a more attacking role for Canada thus far, but of course for Roda JC in Holland, he's got a lot of experience playing left back. Perhaps the biggest question mark is who would replace Julian de Guzman in central midfield. No real natural converts for that position in the Canadian camp. Marcel de Jong did play in that position under Dale Mitchell. Adrian Can is another possibility. He's really a center back. They could move him in there. And of course with Kevin McKenna or Dejan Jakovic, they could move into that position, especially with having Richard Hastings and Andre Eno ready to go at center back. So the big question, like I said, at central midfield, Julian de Guzman, who will replace him in the team? We're not quite sure, but I don't expect to see Julian on the pitch tonight.
Okay, so some solid players coming in important positions there for Canada. Thankfully, this game isn't absolutely vital in terms of how Canada progress in the tournament. Now, after our report yesterday, you would have been forgiven for thinking that maybe the Canadian team might have some conditions that are against them today, but Max, you've got evidence otherwise, especially the weather.
Right, well, it's cooled off a bit, thankfully. It's about 28 degrees right now. The humidex has dropped off as well, so it's a bit more comfortable. It doesn't look at the moment like we're expecting any rain, so that'll keep this artificial surface dry at least, which will definitely favor Canada. But that being said, you and I have already seen it outside. Costa Rican fans lining up, and of course more fans from El Salvador, so a very strong Latin American presence, which will make this effectively another away game for Canada against the Costa Rican side, very familiar with field turf and in front of their home fans.
Speaking of Costa Rica, how do you think they're going to line up? And let's look at where there are gaps in their side and where they've got real strengths.
Well, Costa Rica are doing fantastically well at the moment in the final World Cup qualifying stage, the Hex. They're atop the group. They've taken 4 out of 5 possible wins, including a 3-1 drubbing of the United States, a very strong side. So Costa Rica will be feeling great coming in. Centeno would be their star player, of course, the AEK Athens, the former man who played in Greece. He's the most capped player ever for Costa Rica. He's going to be the sheriff in midfield for them tonight, and we'll expect a very strong performance from them. But of course, Costa Rica with so many attacking options, and we'll have to see what develops tonight on the pitch because Canada has been so strong at the back, but Costa Rica in need of a win or at least in need of a tie, so they'll be looking for a goal for sure, and we'll have to see how Canada can hold ground at the back.
For all the developments and analysis, join us later after the match when we'll have interviews and in-depth decisions taken right into account. Until then, good evening.